So we are very excited today to talk to the lovely Dr. Karen Gellman, and I hope I'm saying that properly, because we have taken a big switch in how we look at the welfare of the horse and how we hold ourselves in posture and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But now we're going to look at a little bit of a different side of it today. So we're pretty pumped to hear more about that, and we will bring up Karen very shortly here. But first and foremost, we want to go back to the old roots because we haven't been on Facebook Live for a while.
Forever, it feels like.
So we're going to throw out that hashtag.
Holy jumping tuna fish.
If you guys catch something that blows your mind today, or you'd like to know more about, or you just think it's really great information, throw in that hashtag for us, because it always is good for us to know who exactly is liking what as well. And then the other hashtag is that lovely We Are Life Changers. And of course, we are not just talking about us. We are talking about all of you, our horses, and all of these beautiful beings that have the opportunity to change a life for the better every single day that we live and breathe. And that really does boil down to spreading a little kindness.
Kindness,
people.
Man. Kindness, everybody. No
nice.
need to be mean. And especially when we're working with horses and we're trying to do better, because remember, we brought the horses to our world. It is now our responsibility to look after them in their world, their culture, and their language by understanding them, not us making them understand our human world. So nice.
That's exactly right. And for all of you who are watching, we do like to know who you are and where you come from. So please do throw that in the comments so we can shout out a quick hello as well. And then, of course, share, because sharing is, in fact,
caring.
It's caring, everybody. And we do want more information about the welfare of the horse and how we can always improve their lives out into the world as much as humanly possible. So please do share this out so we can get a little bit more of this out into the world. And then, of course, if you're catching this on replay, do throw in that replay in the comments as well when you watch later so we can come back and say hello to you too. Alrighty, well, without further ado, oh yeah, and us. So if you don't know who we are, my name is Carolyn Charles. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing, as well as an instructor and facilitator for the Equine Connection, the Academy of Equine Assisted Learning.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carrie Fulmick, the founder of the Equine Connection and master instructor, helping people globally around the world do what it is that we do. And what is that? The most purposeful job. Now, I know Dr. Karen might disagree with me, but it's still with horses. So it's all an amazing experience. And it's so purposeful when we can be able to work with horses in their world, like I was saying before, versus in our human world. And for us, it is equine assisted learning with, of course, business training. So helping people to understand how we can work with horses in a completely different way by understanding how they teach and allowing humans to become so empowered by the process and how a horse actually speaks through their language. We do not give no human stuff when it's coming to these objectively driven programs. But I tell you, we've been doing this for over 16 years. And the changes we see in a human every single time they are able to work with a horse. And again, being empowered enough that they make their own choices as they're going through the journey of our programs that are provided in this certification. And just one more thing, this certification is all about the welfare of the horse first. Mm-hmm. So we're not trying, again, to do it in that human piece, but we're actually looking after them in order for them to be strong, healthy, which is going to go perfectly with what we're talking about today, to be able to, again, not use horses, because there is no using horses here at the old Equine Connection. It is all about working or partnering with our horses.
That's exactly right. And I see we've got Brandy from Arizona on, Cheryl from Sturgeon County, Julie from Bakersfield, California, Holly from BC, Karina's in from Ontario. We've got Riley on here from Saskatchewan. So we've got lots of people joining us. And without further ado, let's talk a little bit about who our guest speaker is today. Dr. Karen Gellman is a holistic veterinarian and expert in the biomechanics of posture and locomotion in animals. Since 2005, she has been teaching veterinarians, chiropractors, rehabilitators, farriers, dentists, and manual therapists about the critical importance of neutral posture for equine performance and wellness. All horses can easily understand how to recognize and fix postural imbalance, which is often the root cause of many mystery lameness. behavioral issues, and or poor performance. So when postural rehabilitation restores your horse's neutral posture, they will become calmer, more cooperative, and ready to share your dreams. So without further ado, here is the lovely Dr. Karen Gellman.
Hi.
Hey there.
So excited that you are on with us. And you know what I love the most is you contacted us. And I love when people aren't shy about anything. Hey, we're on the same page in our different industries, but I love that you connected with us so that we could share you with our tribe globally around the world.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of overlap with our cultures. I mean, obviously, everything you just said, it's like, yeah, of course, duh.
Obviously.
That's what we have to do. You have
Right?
to, respect the horse and so forth. And, we've been doing these posture programs for a long time. And what is really interesting is how people just don't really understand, like no one ever taught them that the horse is doing something else for the other 23 hours a day, that you're not riding it. And what they're doing is standing up. So, what do you think is going to have the biggest influence on the horse's overall health and well being? Is it the 45 minutes that you are riding your circles and practicing your dressage test? Probably not. And most horses these days are not the kind of working horses that there used to be 100 years ago. I mean, 100 years ago, well, maybe 150 years ago, horses were the engine of commerce. They had to pull the trucks and do all of the moving of humans around, moving of goods around. So a typical horse would be putting in 10, 12 hours a day on the roads. But now the horses are mostly sitting around.
Yep. It's so true.
Yeah, it's very true. So how did you kind of fall into this piece even before we get started? And then we'll kind of let you roll with
what it is
and all of this other good stuff that people need to know.
So I went to vet school kind of late in life. I started riding again in my late 20s and then decided, well, I want to spend the rest of my life with horses, and it's too late to be a great rider and a great trainer, but I'm good at going to school, so I went to vet school. And I became a veterinarian, but almost as soon as I started vet school, I realized that, the veterinary business is very much like a trade rather than a science. Because, you give the vaccinations, you do the wormer, the this and that. So I had fallen in love with science when I prepared to go to vet school. And so I ended up staying on for a PhD. And my PhD studies, I was really interested in spinal function. And I was so dumb that I thought that, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna figure out the back of the horse. It's like you could do that in 4 or 5 years. So we ended up doing a really complicated study, but it turned out that what I studied was the movements of the head and neck while the horse was going at different gaits. So I was looking at the head and neck and the nuchal ligament and how the head and neck were rotating around the body, the thorax. And it's amazing now, 20 years later, or 25 years later, this is now like the hottest topic there is because it's the area that's affected by ECVM. So all of that, work that I was doing studying that area those many years ago, I didn't have a clue that there were malformations there. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought to look at it. I was looking at the nuchal ligament. I was looking at the more superficial muscles, and I completely missed. Now, it may not have been as prevalent then too. So, you can't really predict those things.
No, you can't unless you have a crystal ball.
Anyway, so that's how I was studying the head and neck, and I had gotten training in acupuncture and chiropractic, and I did my acupuncture internship with a veterinarian in Pennsylvania who, in my practice in New Jersey, everyone would say, like, you haven't met Dr. Shoemaker? Oh my God, wait till you meet her, because she was this real character. So I went to meet Judith, and she's amazing, like the most brilliant mind I've ever seen. And she was doing this work with horses that was pretty incredible. So she would get these really high-end performance horses from all over the East Coast. She's like licensed in 17 states. And I spent a couple of weeks with her and I watched her do this every day. She did the exact same thing with every horse, and every horse like got better immediately right in front of our eyes. And what she was doing was fixing their posture. And it was really interesting because I had really never seen anything like that before. And I didn't know that that's what something was important. But the more time I spent with Judith, the more I understood that the way that these horses were standing was causing all of the lameness that we go to see as veterinarians. So you have, your jumpers whose hocks go bad and have to get injected. You have the horse with an navicular. You have all the things that are the most common lamenesses. They all have to do with the posture, and the posture is informed by different parts of the nervous system in different parts of the body. And when we take a horse and put it into a human environment, as in being domesticated, there are parts of their body management that then no longer is maintained by a normal equine lifestyle. So let's say, you've got horses who are living, we have horses in Chincoteague, we have horses on Sable Island, Nevada, South Dakota. There's lots of wild horses. So those horses are usually going about 25 miles a day from waterhole to waterhole. They're mostly moving at walk and trot, kind of slow speeds, and they're living on surfaces that are matched to the hardness of their hooves. I mean, the other way around, the hooves are matched to the hardness of the surface. So these horses are maintaining their own feet, and they're eating grass and pulling it up from the ground, so getting grit all day long, and they're maintaining their own dentition. But when they come to live with us, we humans are doing those jobs. And you know what? We're not as smart as God, it turns out.
No,
Weird.
not even a little bit.
And we simply just don't know what we don't know until we do know, right?
Yeah, exactly. I could say that phrase again and again. You don't know what you don't know. So when people hear about the posture model, it's like, oh my God. And, just like bells go off, because it suddenly puts together all of these things that they kind of knew, but they didn't understand how they fit together. So for the veterinarians and chiropractors that we teach, it's like, oh my God, I knew this, but I didn't know how the story fit together. So when you can see a consistent thing that is always the same, it's backed up by science, that really tells you that you can do something to help the horses. And it's not just for like, this one little pampered horse. This is for everybody. Every horse benefits from this, and every horse responds in the exact same way.
Wow. That is really cool to know 100% is going to work for every horse.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen, there are horses who have been severely damaged, have had traumatic injuries, a lot of scars. Those horses are going to take a lot longer to heal than a horse who has, less permanent damage to them.
Yeah.
But, when we talk about the dentition, it's like veterinarians are not trained in occlusal equilibration. They are trained in finding mouth pathology, finding broken teeth and extracting them, taking off the sharp points, but they're not trained. I mean, when we go to our general practice vet for equine dentistry, that would be like taking your kid to your pediatrician for orthodontia.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, your pediatrician is great, but they're not trained in doing orthodontia.
Yep, we say the exact same thing around here.
All
you're not
the
gonna
time.
You're not going to get your heart checked by a foot doctor.
And it is very sad in that area alone how many of us in domesticated horse world don't even understand that actual equine dentist, like the actual dentist, because he's not just doing what you just said, like he's doing the whole mouth to be able to get those horses to be able to eat like they should in the wild. And some of these teeth, I mean, they're breaking jaws in these horses, like, and they don't know. And they wonder why there's a behavioral change, but they're not checking. They don't know what to do.
Well, right. I mean, when I was in vet school, granted that was, back in the age of the dinosaurs, but when I was in vet school, um, there was this much education in dentistry. Now, thankfully, it's better now. But when I look at the CE programs that are being offered for veterinarians, the CE programs are generally about taking good radiographs of the teeth and treating certain dental diseases like ETROH, how to, do a root canal on something. They're doing these things, but they're not teaching occlusal equilibration because that's just not on their radar. Yeah. So there are dentists and there are veterinary dentists in the world who are really well trained in occlusal equilibration, but generally they got that way with a great deal of effort, and it's not what they learned in vet school. When I was in vet school, I asked the ambulatory vet if I could make an appointment to have her float my horse, and she goes, "No, but I'll show you how to do it." So she goes to my barn, and she got a bucket with 2 floats in it, puts some water in the bucket, and it says, like, "Here, listen to this. Shh, 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 shh. All right, that's what you want to hear. Now you do the other side." And so she did the points on the uppers, did the points on the lowers, never did an exam, never looked at the teeth, never looked at the incisors, and said, "Okay, you're licensed to float."
Wow.
And, any monkey with a rasp can take off sharp points. That's not a skilled job.
No.
And if you're talking about like a racetrack practice where all of the horses are pretty much under 5 years of age, just taking off the sharp points is going to cover it. But when you're looking at horses whose full dentition doesn't come in until they're 5, and no one has ever looked to see if their teeth are meeting correctly, whether they're, aligned correctly, do they have a trapezoidal distortion, like a big diagonal in their face? So, people talk about the high-low hoofs in horses all the time, and they say like, well, that's a lifetime thing. You're never going to fix that. And I was like, absolutely not. The up-down hooves are part and parcel with the diagonal pattern in the mouth, and that creates a trapezoidal distortion in the entire horse's body. You fix the structures, you can fix the function. And that's how we approach it in postural rehab. It's like, fix the structures, you fix the function, you reset the nervous system, and the horse knows how to do it.
Amazing.
So brilliant.
Yeah, amazing. Introducing the right things for them so that they can take it on their own, right? Because they do have a natural ability for these things, but they need some help when we put them into
you heal until you die.
Yes.
And if a horse lives in an environment, in a situation where their structures can't be corrected on their own, they're not doing 25 miles a day. They don't have abrasive surfaces. They don't get, like, if they're living in a stall and they don't ever get to go on different surfaces, their whole postural organization is going to be compromised because they don't have the, the subroutines to walk on different surfaces, to walk, squishy here, hard there. They just don't know it. And, it's like people who live in the city and always wear high heels. They are not going to have the best overall body integration because they're having a single kind of input. So, whatever kind of equine athlete that you want to be working with, you want them to be all around balanced and able to cope with new situations as they arise.
Yes, absolutely.
So when it comes to the whole posture piece, like where do we start?
Yeah.
Like where do we start?
What do we do?
You start by looking at the posture. You start by looking at the horse standing on level ground and saying, is this horse standing with its legs perpendicular to the ground like a table? And, it's very simple. Like, that's the most stable way to stand. And if the horse is not standing like that, then you have to go looking for the reasons why. So, do we have any ability to show images here?
I don't know what your end looks like, but I possibly could.
Let me see.
Do you have a little side thing that says media?
I don't see anything. I see a microphone, settings. I don't see anything for media.
It might not let you.
Boo.
Is it off that worksheet that you sent me?
Well, what about, the image that you put
In the event
for this? Can you pull that one up?
Yeah, I should be
Yeah,
able
that
to.
is a great one. And, we've been recently, well, the past year, we've been working with Chris Irwin. I'm not sure if you've heard of him before, but that's been huge with the three energies and how horses always use it. We do too, but we're just not aware like a horse is aware. So it's been really interesting with using these new postures that we're moving with the horses. It's really changed how they're feeling, even as we're working with our horses, because even with these energies and posture, there's no pulling on the horse's head. So this has been a very exciting advancement to us in this horse world, because now
what
we're
are
moving
these tree
towards
energies?
the way that
What
they
is
should.
it? What is it you're saying? That tree energies?
3.
No, three.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're like, what
the
are you
tree
talking
energies.
about? I mean, I guess a tree could be one of them, but
Yeah. So,
But
so what is that?
when I saw your postures beside each other, I'm like, yep, that's exactly the same idea, what we're looking for, even when we're working with our horses. Where is that? How's that horse standing? Where is his posture at? You could take the screenshot.
yeah, I'm just trying to find.
Sorry,
the
I'm
original
looking
one.
at what she's trying to find at the same time.
She can't see what is happening
No, I know.
otherwise.
But
I
it is
thought
an
that it was-
incredible picture to show the two horses side by side. So
Right.
Chris Irwin is, again, always all about using their language and how they move each other, how they draw into each other, how they actually, well, through that communication piece, but it's all through posture. So it's, like using the energy of a push energy, then we have a draw energy, and then we have a block energy. Oh, there it was.
Yeah, I just can't
Okay.
get it.
Anyways, it's changed our horses' lives.
Yeah. I mean, and like I was doing this live program last night with my friend Rachel Hart, and we talk about how behavior is communication. When a horse offers a behavior, that's their way to communicate. They're not yakking at you. What they do is what they're telling you about their world. And if you choose not to listen, well, that's pretty sorry.
That's it.
Okay, I think I can.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
how
Okay.
I should-
Can we
no.
get that? All right. So in this picture, this is one of Dr. Shoemaker's clients. I don't know if can you see my arrow at all?
No.
Okay. So the horse on the left and the horse on the right, same horse, 20 minutes difference. Okay.
Wow.
So this horse was a upper level dressage horse who had suspensory desmitis, and he would come back when his owner let his feet get too long, and then he would collapse in the hind end and stand like this. So you see the horse on the left is standing with the legs are kind of like a pattern like this, where they go in from
Like a-
underneath the body. So when the legs are not vertical, what in life is not vertical for support? Well, it's when the horse is moving. So if the horse is putting forward its leg to take a step or retracting the leg backwards. So what this means is that when the horse's legs are canted in like this, they have to use their movement muscles in order to support their standing posture. So if you know anything about biology and physiology, there's muscles that are what we call oxidative muscles that are powered by blood and oxygen. Like, oh, I got to get the blood, the oxygen to my muscles so I can keep going. And there's blood that is for, sorry, they're muscles that run on glycogen, and they call those fast glycolytic muscles. And the fast muscles are for like sprinting. And when the body is functioning, for locomotion, it uses these fast muscles because they can generate a lot of power. So they're meant to go on, off with each step. But when you have to recruit those fast glycolytic muscles in order to stand, then they're on all the time. And that's when you start getting, you ever get a Charlie horse where you have a buildup of lactic acid at the muscle? That's when a fast twitch muscle has been working too hard. So horses who stand with their legs canted in are overworking their movement muscles. They're not using their postural muscles, and they tend to first hypertrophy and then start atrophying those muscles. So you'll see them having like really stringy looking butts and overdeveloped chests and things like that. And that's because they have to get those muscles to keep from falling down that should be used only for locomotion. But when you look at the horse the way he stands on the right, you see that the legs are perpendicular to the ground, and the bones of the limbs are stacked one on top of another so that they're in the correct orientation to push against gravity, because gravity is pulling us down while we're trying to stand up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then small, slow twitch muscles that are very inexpensive to use all the time. And those muscles stabilize the joints of the leg so that when a horse is standing the way you see he is on the right, he can stand that way for hours and hours. He can sleep that way. And it costs very little energy to maintain, and it doesn't overwork his muscles.
Wow. And
So,
even, wow, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say the normal neutral posture, which is what you see on the right, that's the way all horses should be. So if you look at pictures of wild horses anywhere, if you look at any vintage photo of horses, they all stand like a table with their legs perpendicular to the ground.
Nice. That's so cool.
So that is the default position and what it should be. Now, modern horses, a lot of them, and I can tell you there's like some really specific things that make horses stand canted in, and one of them is long toes.
Mm-hmm.
So long toenails, that is one of the things that makes horses stand in. So long hooves, but it's the same thing with dogs. That's why I was saying toenails. Dogs who have long toenails also stand like that, right?
Makes sense.
And when there is a mismatch between the dental arcades, so you want the teeth, if we're looking from the side, you want the teeth to be meeting like this in the center. But if the teeth are, the top one overhangs the bottom one, that also creates the conditions that make the horse think that they're standing on a hill. Because if you tilt your head back, you'll find that your jaw tips backwards. So if the horse's brain recognizes a pattern that it's standing on a hill, and this goes with the long toenails and with the dental thing I just described, what you're going to do is you lean forward over the hill and put your shoulders behind you. Can you visualize that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were on an actual hill, that would be great. If you're standing on level ground, when you put your legs behind you, you're going to fall on your face unless you counterbalance with the hind legs. And that's how we generate the abnormal compensatory posture.
Very interesting.
It is. And even if you just looked at that, and again, no one maybe even knowing any knowledge of this, which again, now we're gaining, but even when you take a look at a picture, knowing nothing, you feel a difference between the two horses.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but the funny thing is that, like I've used this pair of images for a lot of articles we've written about this. And there have been at least 2 times when I sent in the images with their, like really well labeled, exactly, this is abnormal posture, this is normal, and had the editor switch them around because they thought that the horse on the left looked happier.
Wow.
Exactly. They thought that the horse on the right looked very sad, and therefore that couldn't be the normal posture. And the one on the one. So how much are we used to seeing horses in a very alert, alarmed pose? And this goes to another really critical thing about the posture model, which is that standing with your head up in the air and your back arched like this is what you do as a reaction to danger. So let's say, oh my God, the roof is falling in. So you go like this and you stick your head up, you close the gap here, you put your hands back. All of this positioning that we see in abnormal compensatory posture has a heightened sympathetic tone coming with it. When you're in a heightened sympathetic tone, it essentially creates a situation for PTSD. So, you're working with the Igala model. You see horses coming through as potential volunteers. Like, what's going on with them? Are they hyperreactive? You see the kind of horse who blows up if they see a gum wrapper around the ring. Or are they dissociated? You think about a school horse who's completely unflappable. You could blow up a bomb near them. Those horses are the two sides of PTSD, hypervigilance
Mhm.
or dissociation. So, one of the things that we're giving back to horses by restoring neutral posture is the ability to just chill and relax and have parasympathetic dominance. So, if
Mhm.
sympathetic is fight or flight, parasympathetic is rest and digest.
Mhm.
So, when the
So
horse's head is up in the air, they are alert, they're looking out, they are being vigilant. So, that is a good thing in an appropriate situation, but it's not how you want to live all the time.
Absolutely not.
absolutely not. We can take that adrenaline off just a tad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not where we want to have them.
No, siree.
So going from the horse on the left to the horse on the right, what does that process kind of look
Yeah.
like? Like, what do you,
Okay, so in this
like,
case, because Dr. Shoemaker, just wanted to get the good photos, and these were from a long time ago, she just did her manipulation of the horse's neck, and the horse had been treated many, many times before. Let's say the horse on the left was a new horse that came into practice. What you want to look at is look at their feet and see what the hoof balance is like. You want to look at their dentition and see whether whoever had been managing the horse's dentition was doing an appropriate job. And then you want to reset the function. So there's the structure, there's the function, and the two of them are working around each other. So you can override distorted structure. So when the hooves get too long, the hoof capsule itself becomes really distorted. And what happens very often is that, you can do my little model here. The hoof capsule sits on the coffin bone, the P3 bone. Let me get this in the right angle. Come on, my camera here. So if this is the P3 bone, and here's the hoof capsule sitting around it, if that hoof capsule goes too long, it actually moves forward of the P3 bone, and the bony column of the leg and the hoof capsule itself no longer have a relationship with each other. So the horse ends up with a collapsed digital cushion and a distorted hoof capsule up front because there's too much leverage on it. And this is the case with, I would say, 90% of the horses that I see for performance problems. It's
Wow.
astonishingly common. It's so common that people think it's normal.
That's the worst part though, because that's not good. Because then we're accepting things like that. And well, it's just not the way. For founder,
Well,
my brain is just thinking, because this can help even horses who are foundered.
so founder is a particular disease. Founder is a inflammation of the connection between the hoof capsule and the bone. So it can be caused by a metabolic imbalance. It can be caused various things. Founder is not a result of poorly trimmed hooves, though.
Right.
So many, if a lot of horses have poorly balanced hooves and some of them founder, then yes, some horses will founder with poorly. But what's interesting is that the treatment for founder is to remove the toe leverage. So the more leverage the toe has, the more. I mean, it's founder is exactly like, if you want to kind of feel it in yourself. Did you ever get a fingernail bashed on by a hammer? And you know how painful that is? And there's all blood underneath your fingernail. And in fact, the treatment for it, if you have to go to the emergency room, is that they make a little hole in your fingernail and allow some of the blood to come out. So that's essentially what founder is. Founder is a inflammation with lots of fluid and inflammatory mediators in between the horse's fingernail and what it's attached to.
Got it. It's
So
interesting.
if your fingernail, if you like pull back on your fingernail, that is putting leverage on the connection between the nail and the nail bed. So similarly, if a horse has laminitis, which the extreme version is founder, they can have a more minor laminitis. The longer the toe is, the more leverage is trying to peel back that hoof from its capsule. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, it's painful. Incredibly painful. Yeah.
It's interesting
So-
that can lead to other things, though, even with the right? Because then as they compensate for that piece, then they take a different posture. And then even if you got them through the laminitis, you still got to get the posture back to getting them to a healthy space as well.
Right.
So there's always those compound things that
Yeah, I mean,
on top
there
of
is
each
a
other.
characteristic, there's a characteristic posture for laminitis where they're trying to basically take the weight off their toes. That is, I mean, so when we say the words, you see that horse on the left is labeled abnormal compensatory posture. The horse is adopting a compensatory posture, but there's no reason for them to do it. A normal compensatory posture, for instance, would be when you pick up a leg to be trimmed by the farrier. The horse takes its other 3 legs, arranges them in an even triangle, and allows the leg to go up in the air. If a horse has an injury in its leg, it will rest the leg while it's standing, and it'll arrange a normal compensatory posture for the other 3 legs.
Mm-hmm.
If the horse has a founder, what it tends to do is kind of rock back and let its toes not take a lot of weight, and the horse will go back to its normal posture when the condition has resolved. So when you have an abnormal compensatory posture, you have a posture that's being driven by distorted proprioceptive input from the important postural sensors.
Makes sense. Okay.
So now I definitely want to know how we can bring this into our horses' world and how we, just being not peons, but not a doctor,
Yeah, not
how
doctors.
we can actually incorporate this besides all the good stuff we're already working with, but now to even go more, like we used to do the oscillating, like we've done so many different things that are a part of our horse's life, but this one is very exciting because it feels like it would be a regular piece that you always have with your horses because we see them every day.
So I think everybody who owns horses. I'm sorry, we have a little lag here. I didn't hear what you said.
And if we see a horse with an odd posture, what do we do with that posture to help correct that?
Okay, so the posture, again, is a symptom, and the cause is the distortion in the horse's structures or function. So most commonly, we have a poor hoof balance, but there's also the dentition, and there also could be like an injury in the neck, and that could be part of it. ECVM horses, they have an injury in the lower neck. A congenital injury. It's not something that's happened to them. So what can you do? So my partner Judith and I, who have been teaching this for 25 years, our mission is to help all the horses get a neutral posture. So to this end, we're training a lot of professionals. So we have the Postural Rehabilitation Professional course, and we are training veterinarians and chiropractors and physiotherapists and dentists and farriers and massage therapists and energy workers, and all these people are learning the whole posture model and what they can do about it. And we used to teach all these courses in person, but we stopped doing that like 10 years ago because we got too busy with our research. And now we're teaching it online. So we did the first online course last January, and now we have a directory of postural rehab practitioners that's online. I can give you the link for it. And people can find a PR practitioner near you, or you can get a PR consultation that's a virtual consultation. So some people are doing the consultations, and they can help you look at the different parts of the puzzle so that you can figure out how to fix your horse, what the problem your horse has. And, it'll involve, looking at the feet, taking photographs and things like that. We're also offering for the first time, actually just next month in October, we're doing a postural rehab course for riders. So you don't have to be professional. We're not going to use all the jargon. And this will be a class where we will teach you what are the basics to look at in posture so that you can work for yourself to figuring out what your horse needs and who's going to be the best person to help you.
Fabulous.
I like that.
Yep.
Very much so.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then from that, at least everybody has access to the information and knowledge, because that's where it all stems from.
Absolutely.
Right?
And is there a giveaway?
Oh. Yeah.
Sorry, you can finish.
Oh, yeah. So I gave you a image that is a posture explanation that you can give to your followers. And when we start doing the launch of the posture course, we will be giving away several free opportunities to join the course for free.
Woo! I like that.
But in the meantime,
Absolutely.
things are not quite ready for all of that stuff. I have to film a webinar, and I have to go to a vet conference this weekend, and then after that I'll get the webinar done, and then we get to start the process of getting people into the course. So for the meantime, I gave you a link where you can invite people to get on our early interest wait list for the course. And what that means is that when the cart is open, we will send you an email and let you know how you can register to watch the webinar, which will be a free, detailed with lots of pictures, explanation of what we were talking about today and going over all the different parts of it. So that's a way that everybody can get involved. And then as part of that whole process, we will do a drawing on Facebook Live, and we'll give away some free memberships to the program.
Ooh,
Beautiful.
I love this.
And I did just throw up comment posture. So if you do want that link as well as the free PDF today as well, throw comments. Nope. Throw posture in the comments, and then I will be happy to send that off to you after we are completed as well.
So 2 exciting things. A gift is always nice to have. And of course, then that link to get onto that waiting list. So this is very exciting.
Yes. And if this were like 2 weeks from now, I'd be sending you right to the webinar. But the webinar, I didn't film it yet. So
it's one of those things.
It's okay. We understand where you're coming from. It's just the way it rolls. But when the timing is there, we will all be ready.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to know that you can do this just on your own after the training. That is something I think that
what you can do. So as a rider, what you can do is you can be more knowledgeable about what your horse needs. So we can't train you online how to do the manual manipulation to override these distorted structures. That is a very intensive training that we do with the licensed professionals in person, and it is very intensive. However, I mean, this is how we do it, but Rachel Hart does it in a different way. Celeste Lazarus does it in a different way. Everybody has their road in. It's kind of like we say it's like the blind man and the elephant. It's that we all have a different piece of the puzzle. That's our entry point. You have to jump on the merry-go-round somewhere, and this is what we do in our group of practitioners. But it doesn't mean that it's the only way. But I think it will always come down to having structures that are not distorted and having a free moving function of the head, neck, back relationship.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, not just for riders, everybody, because again, we're equine assisted. We're to work on the ground. And no matter what, we are wanting this for our horses because they need to be comfortable. And again, number one thing horse needs to feel is safe. This is all part of their posture as well. Because again, we take that horse on the left, that higher head, more adrenaline versus the horse on your right. Beautiful medium low head. This is like, I'm thinking, I'm feeling good. These are lovely pieces we want, even in equine assisted learning, mounted horses.
So, what I didn't mention is that we have a third partner in our teaching team, and that is Elizabeth Reese, who is a classical dressage trainer, but also an Alexander teacher. So if anybody has never heard of Alexander Technique is one of the foundational concepts that centered riding was based on. And it is a human, call it a kinesthetic education. So the Alexander work is not like, I'm going to do something to you. It's I'm going to teach you how to have a neutral relationship with your head, neck, and back. So we work with both practitioners and with the horses, and we teach the practitioners to model what the horses need to feel. So if you're like this, and you go talking and touching a horse like this, the horse is not going to want to be near you because they're going to feel all that compression in your spine, all the tension in your body. But if you can approach any kind of work you're doing with horses with a neutral spine yourself, being upright, having a good relationship with gravity, all of that will be transmitted when you're connecting your nervous system to that of the horse. And in the Agama model, helping your clients connect with the horse's nervous system, that's what it's all about. And you have to make the horse want to be there. So the Alexander work is absolutely critical for our practitioners to understand this. And in the rider course that we're going to be doing next month, we're going to have a half-day workshop with Liz where she will lead people through this incredible kinesthetic learning.
I love kinesthetic
cool.
learning. That's the greatest way to learn on earth, man.
Yeah.
Greatest way.
We did have a question on here as well, if you're open to it, from Alicia. She has come to learn that as a body worker, she's come to learn that the perfect posture is not 100% possible for all horses. For your whatever old pathologies or injuries might be in its body. When you take them to perfect posture, their body is not able to support that due to its physical structure being compromised. And after a while, the horse almost falls apart and is worse than they were before the postural rehab started. What are your thoughts on this?
So I had mentioned earlier, so we have these distorted structures in the structures that are reporting for postural control. So, we have the inner ear. Things don't go wrong with the inner ear too often. That's pretty well protected. But then the really big ones are your ground contact information, your TMJ, your visual information, and the small muscles and joints of the head, neck, back relationship. So those are the really important ones for reporting on a neutral posture. Now, yes, humans and horses and dogs, whatever, there can be ones with a lot of old damage. So you have to help them have the most neutral posture they can, given what their body is. And that may not look like somebody who has a perfect body who just had long toes. So whatever you're doing, you always want to work to make it as close to neutral as you can. So a great example to think about that are the ECVM horses. So the ECVM horses have a congenital malformation in their neck. If they have a unilateral ECVM, they are never, ever going to be symmetrical. So what do you do for a horse like that? You try to make sure that the teeth are absolutely perfect, that the feet are absolutely perfect. You give them the best possible function of their musculature, of their postural system, so that they can make the most of what they have, despite you could even call the ECVM malformation a scar, because it's something that you can't change. Now, we can change a lot of scars. So we do a lot of work with injecting the withers. There are horses who have kissing spines from postural problems, and that's a different thing than in congenital kissing spines. There are a lot of things that we can do to make scars have less influence on the body, breaking down scar tissue. We can inject them with procaine. We can do a lot of different things. And yes, you can't make everybody perfect. That's just not possible. But the most neutral they can is going to be what's best for the horse. And I'm not sure, I have never in my 25 years of practice had the experience of giving a horse neutral posture and have them fall apart afterwards. They work with the best that they can. So again, that hasn't been in my experience, nor in the practitioners that I work with. But it can't be wrong to be as neutral as possible given the body you have.
Would it be similar to even with humans? I mean, sometimes if you have a back issue or if you have sometimes you get the worst before it gets better sort of deal, where you do get a little bit in alignment, but it's sore, it hurts until your body can get there, and then baby steps as it moves forward to get you to a more neutral place.
So I think there's a difference between like trying to so posture is not the same thing as position.
Right.
A lot of us think like, it's like, okay, I come into a room and start talking about posture. Never goes, I'm going to stand up straight. And, the positioning is not the same thing as posture at all. So if you're like working with a horse and you insist that it puts its leg square, and every time it puts a leg not square, you bring it back and do that, that's a very different thing than clearing the distortions off of their nervous system and allowing them to express the posture that is neutral for what is left. So, again, I'm not sure what the person who asked the question, what their experience is, and what kind of posture work they've been doing, but I'm just trying to tell you from my experience what I see.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
Well, this has been beautiful.
Wow.
And I'm sure people are this handout as well as some more information about how they can be a part of a course as well. And I know, well, again, we always talk about the welfare of the horse and whether it be a different form of equine assisted learning like EGALA or something like that, or our format or riding or whatever else. This is one of those bases for horses that can really make a true difference in their lives. And I think that's so fabulous that we got to have you on today to help promote that to people out there as well.
I love it. And one more time, how did you find us? How, like, I love that you connected with us. That's still my favorite thing.
I just poked around looking for horse podcasts, and yours was good.
Well, that's good then. Yours was good. So I say I'm going to connect with you.
We appreciate it.
That's it.
Well, this works wonderful. I know even our facilitators who couldn't join us, we have another community there as well. They're so excited to hear the podcast and be a part of this as well. So we're going to get lots of people.
Okay.
And for
and
any
people
of you who
have
are
any more questions or stuff like that, our Facebook page is Postural Rehabilitation for Horses and Dogs. And
beautiful.
You can just go there and, follow stuff there and send me a message if you have a question, and be happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. And I will put a link into that as well if anybody wants that information sheet, as well as the information about when the course is coming up, plus the link to your Facebook. Please do throw posture into the comments, and we'll make sure to get all that information off to you guys.
Absolutely. Are you able to see also questions in there on your?
Yeah, that would be like if I like put my glasses on. And,
just in case if there was any that you wanted to answer on the side.
Let's see, were there other questions?
But
I think just the question that you were saying about that you mentioned before about
people are just excited
or like there is no such thing as perfect posture. It's the most neutral you can be given your body and your environment. And posture will depend on where you're standing and what you're doing. And, it's not a rigid concept. It's flexible, but what we want is to have a resilient relationship with gravity because we can't get away from it.
No, I noticed that.
It doesn't seem to let up ever.
No, we need a new kind of bra made after this.
What's this with gravity?
Well, thank you so very much.
Thanks for inviting me.
I definitely think we could have been on for 3-4 hours because this to me is just we just touched things. We didn't go enough. But excited about your course that you're going to be offering. So we will definitely be a part of this journey with you. So we're going to see you more often.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I look forward to coming back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. And everybody, don't forget to throw posture in the comments to get all that good info. And I'll send it off to you guys all after the live.
Have an amazing day. Look after that pony pone.